Okay, we are continuing book discussion, Gate of Heaven, chapter 4. In this chapter, Rael is trying to give some introduction to the Court of Voices, to Aphraar, and then he's gone off to get Omra. And then Omra is going to come and greet Aphraar as well. And so there's this process of seeing what Aphraar is feeling and observing while Rael is gone away to get Omra. So it's kind of like this. When I first read this book years ago, I would feel infuriated. It's like, why are we talking about somebody going to pick up somebody and bringing him back? Why is it going on and on and on? And of course, now I'm paying attention to every sentence in the book and noticing all the processes going on. But I remember feeling very irritated once upon a time, because it's like, you're just hanging out at the place, it's pretty, somebody goes, somebody else comes, and you talk about it. What's the big deal? Right now it's like hallowed ground. So anyone has any opinion or any feelings about the overall theme of the chapter itself? We good? Okay. So we'll continue on with the discussion. I was feeling pretty terrible at that time when I was preparing that outline, so you can see it or not through the questions I come up with. So if we could get Laura to help me read, I'm still a bit out of breath.
Okay, so question 1 was, the whole environment was suggestive of contemplation. The atmosphere was fragrant with peace. The silence, musical with rest. The soft, light liquid with a sense of communion too deep to find expression in language. Why is the Court of Voices set up this way? Why is the environment necessary for the final stages of becoming at one with God?
Thoughts? Karen?
Yeah, I'm finding as we're getting further in these books, I'm having, because it's so far away from my condition, I'm having trouble really understanding exactly what's, like, this is just so far removed from something I've ever experienced that it's, yeah, it's just different. So my interpretation of this, though, is that this period before you become at one with God, you're really being directed inward. You're being directed inward so you can commune with God yourself. And so it's because God doesn't communicate through words, or, you know, it's kind of develop these new faculties within yourself where you can commune with God directly. And so there's this contemplation and peaceful atmosphere, so you can do that. It's not an atmosphere where there's loads of things happening, so you're constantly engaging yourself, learning new things. It's more trying to put yourself inwards to learn these new things. Yeah, my interpretation.
Okay. Yeah, I like that that you do need some peace and some room instead of distraction in order to be able to hear God until it becomes, I guess, second nature to you, kind of thing. And yeah, there's a switch now that instead of having all these guides that shows up to teach him, they're being removed now. Like, he's not getting as many helpers coming along. Yeah, thank you. Judith.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I felt that in order to become at one with God, you really have to know yourself and every single thing about yourself. There can be no stone unturned. So the whole piece is set up to be completely self-reflective.
Got it. Oh, I like that, actually. That's a good insight. That is also about knowing yourself when you're in that place, as well as you're contemplating what you're experiencing about God, and you're contemplating the new faculties that you need to experience God, and then there's also the personal stuff. So that's good. Yeah, thank you. Pat?
I actually agree with Karen, where I feel so far away from this condition that it's really hard for me to understand what I'm reading.
Yeah.
Part of what this paragraph meant for me was silence. When you're praying, it originates from your heart, and you don't need to talk and use language because it's hard to express feelings with language. So you need to be silent, and that's what silence meant for me, was just to reflect.
Yeah. But you're mentioning the word prayer. It's like a place of prayer. He's in some kind of a prayerful state.
Right. And prayer is for your feelings from your heart rather than intellectually thinking about it, or.
Yes. Yes. Okay. And it also then becomes an inward communion. You're kind of speaking inwardly from your heart and your feelings towards God within yourself, because the communication is soul to soul, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember hearing that for us to hear God whispers. Not that he has a voice, but he whispers.
Yeah.
And most of my life is just busy and chaotic, and
Right.
I couldn't hear God if I wasn't silent. Well, even when I'm silent now, I still don't hear him, but
yeah,
I know that that's a truth, but maybe someday I will.
The need for silence. Okay. And I also had the feeling when I was preparing for this chapter, I was like, I'm in first sphere, and we're going to talk about the sixth. It's like, okay. But I think what's happening is we're growing our desire by being curious and by guessing and exploring. And because we're asking questions, maybe we'll get feelings from our guides. So you never know if you pick away at it. But yeah, there was a lot of feelings of like, I'm in no position to be talking about any of this. So yeah, I guess that's a feeling we need to feel. Thank you. Michael.
I thought of it as reflective, being in a receptive state so he can hear the still small voice.
Yes.
And be still and know. He's got to that phrase has more significance to me now. And like Karen, I have no connection to these things that are being talked about, but also like Judith said, reflective, because thinking about where lessons have occurred in his life and seeing them from a new vantage point and getting a new meaning from them.
Yeah.
And also, okay, yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Receptive. That's interesting that Pat said prayer and then Michael said receptive. And it's like, well, that's a two-way communication right there, isn't it? There's a prayer and then there is the receiving, which is what the 1 minute is going to be about. It's going to be a two-way communication, I'm assuming. So, wow, the pieces of the puzzles are coming in. Selena.
To me, I feel like this is just part of the whole chapter in a way, in that to me, it's like the beginning of actually feeling your soul. So sometimes it's confusing, and sometimes it's kind of like when you enter into the spirit world and you're just your spirit body, that takes a while to adjust to and learn about. And I feel like he's starting to feel, which is maybe why we can't connect to it very well.
Yeah.
Feeling his soul as this entity in himself.
Okay.
That's what I keep feeling is coming up for me.
Okay.
That would be weird. That would be really different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a few other passages coming up that's probably linking to that conversation right there. So thank you, Selena.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Alicia?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everybody. And there's another bit of me that sees, how can I see this for myself?
Yeah.
Even though I'm way away from there. And so this safe haven, sanctuary, sublime place without loads of distractions gives me a sense of being able to go inside myself. But for me, there's also a dichotomy of, there are all these intricacies outside of this amazing place that was described in the last chapter that is exciting and enticing and encouraging to me as well. So it's like a mirage of senses of waking inside and propelling me forward somehow.
Okay. So there's excitement about what you're seeing, what you believe you will experience when you get there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm endeavoring to see a little bit of how he's seeing it, but it seems like it's a beautiful place to be, and much easier for us to endeavor to connect to God. But there's this extraordinary place that you're in that's got all the senses being activated at the same time, inside and outside.
I like that. Okay, so senses are being it's a place where senses are being activated within and without. Thank you. Okay, yeah, I can see that. Thank you. Okay, off to a good start. All right, so point 2, Laura.
Question 2. My mind again reverted to the condition in which I found and now have left Bayonne. The languor and listlessness experienced by such as her as they reach that valley of content after battling and struggling through the earth conditions, and the desire they feel to rest their overwearied souls. For some reason I could not explain, in the mercy and by the grace of God, I had escaped this retaining influence to all appearance, and when reaching what I've spoken of as the still water between life's ebbs and flow, some benign current had carried me across the stagnancy into the rising flow of the eternal system. How did Aphraar attract the benign current that moved him across the valley of the content, and why do others not attract this support in the same way? Or that it takes them longer to get there? We have spoken on this before, but I feel there's more gold to mine, or perhaps the spirits visiting us will benefit from the discussion.
Okay. Who wants to go? Many times Aphraar speaks about how lucky he has been to have been able to kind of slip across that. Maybe many times, maybe 3 times, he's spoken about that, how much it means to him that he was able to get across that phase. Michael?
I don't think I have some guesses.
Yeah. That's all we're all doing here.
I think it has to do with humility or something. But so he did not need rest like the way somebody who passes over with cancer would.
Yes.
And then he was curious, and that kind of got him involved and kept him moving forward.
Yes.
He had a noble aim. And the noble aims are a higher level stuff. You know, he wants to come back and share these things. So I think that propelled him and drew help to him.
Right.
He wanted to find Bayonne.
Yes.
He was in search of some love need. And also I think because of his earth life, he had fewer addictions. You know, he seemed to have mostly misunderstandings to be corrected and not diseased states of his body.
That's right. And yeah, because he didn't have as many addictions, or maybe none, he didn't have to then recover from the damage of the addictions also. So that would also, but I like what you brought up there, that he somehow just didn't need rest. In fact, he, as you spoke about in the first book, he used to see himself as somebody who was kind of grumpy and cantankerous, and yet since he passed, he's so happy and excitable and just can't get enough. So yeah, like the opposite, he actually became energized after he passed. So good observation. Thank you, Michael. And Judith.
Yeah, I agree with Michael. And I when I saw this question, I kind of went back to the conversation he had with Vaughn and what
Yeah.
she was feeling to try and figure this out. But I
Right.
just like the same thing was that he didn't have those religious notions that she had. He
Right.
was like a blank slate. He had no fear. He was extremely curious.
Yes.
And also he like, yeah, everything was like something new. I
Yes.
think it was just the lack of preconceived ideas.
But the thing is that he was constantly being presented with something new because something was already in a certain condition, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that God kept dangling the carrot in front of him because he would go after it.
Yeah,
Was to somebody like me who probably just want to go sleep for 20 years or something, like.
because it pushes our button and we start to feel unworthy or look at all of our mistakes.
Ah, yeah. Okay, that's a good one. Yeah, unworthiness is what we do it, eh? Thank you, Judith. Pat.
This is a guess on my part as well, but I'm thinking that there's reasons why we're motivated to act, and one of them, which I do a lot, is I act because I want to avoid my pain or get away from it.
Yeah.
And I think Aphraar's, probably his whole life, I don't know, his motivation was a desire to love.
Yes.
Rather than get away from pain.
Yes.
Because I know
that's a really big distinction, eh? That's a really important thing.
Well,
like I want to do good because I want to avoid hell. That's not a good motivation.
Yeah. And that's why if I'm just avoiding my pain or trying to get away from it, as soon as I get to a comfortable place, as soon as I can manage my life enough that I'm comfortable, I'm not going to, I want to stay there.
Good analysis, Pat. That's really good. You're right. That is the motivation.
Yeah, it's happening for me right now. So that's why I feel that right now.
Huh. Thank you. Absolutely. Okay. Karen.
Yeah, I agree with what everyone said so far. And I feel for me, I feel it's two primary things that he has as to why that's happened is his desire for truth and just his desire in general. So this desire he had to help the people less fortunate, and even this desire he had to communicate back to the earth.
Okay.
What happens is a very pure desire is to help the people on earth, and because he's had that pure desire, I feel that's a lot of the reason why he's attracted all the help he attracted, because then they wanted to show him all these different things. So what he's communicating is truthful, and he had this desire to communicate what is truthful. Yes. Whereas somebody I feel who didn't have that desire wouldn't have attracted that same set of circumstances. But I feel anyone can attract that kind of help if they have a desire. But if you don't have the desire, you can't be helped. If your free will is that you just want to rest and stay there, you can't be helped. But if you have a desire that you want to do something, or you want to know more about God, or you want to know the truth, which he has a very strong desire for truth, then you attract all this help. And he's just been so excited to learn all these things. That's just propelled him forward. He hasn't had any thought to just sit there and do nothing.
That's a really good observation, that he had a desire for truth, and his desire to help people was already fostered because he acted on it while he was alive. So it's already become a pretty strong organ. Yeah. So once he got stronger opportunity, like it was very easy to just act on it because he's already built it. So let's give me some ideas here. Sometimes I get into this feeling of how much difference can it do if I help a little bit here and there? What's the point? How much difference will it make? Will it even make a difference? But now I'm thinking, but the exercise of doing whatever little we can, we're actually building a really strong part of our soul that afterward we just keep going faster. This is where we develop all the pre-development of whatever nature we want. It will really help us after. Ooh, good thoughts. That's got some wheels turning in my head there. Thank you, Karen. Alicia?
Yeah, actually, I think you said what I was going to say more or less, but in a more eloquent way. And there was a part of me remembering how on earth apart from the fact that he did so many beautiful deeds without having any need for anything back again. But he also was challenging the norms of society or the norms of the way of thinking.
Okay.
And so he was very much misunderstood. And yet here in the spirit world, he's encouraged to ask questions.
Yeah.
Like he said he wasn't curious on earth.
Yeah.
But here he's super curious.
Oh, yeah.
He's also encouraged to do that. Like
Okay.
he's anyway. Yeah, that's what I wanted to mention.
I like that. I like what you just thought there, that what he did went against the norm. So that means that he had already had the practice of pushing back against something that didn't resonate for him.
Yeah.
He didn't have the fear of obedience of whatever dogmas there were. He had already practiced pushing against it and rising above
Which
it.
I think links in with exactly what Karen just said to you about his desire for truth.
Yeah, but then there's a desire for truth, and then there's taking action to challenge the norm or to do whatever it is. Even, I mean, he wasn't trying to challenge the norm, he was just trying to help the poor, but it happens to challenge the norm, and he kept going. He didn't let it stop him. So again, there he developed another part of his nature, kind of strengthened those muscles by taking action, which then really helped him after. Because then he's going, what I'm learning here will really challenge the norm, and I got to do this. How fast can I do this? Can I do this now? Right now? Like, he had just crossed the veil, and he's like, I got to go back right now, right? If you remember in that first 2 chapters, it's like, I got to go back now. So that was so cool. Okay, thank you, Karen, Alicia, and Pat.
I just had another comment. The video that Karen suggested to watch on Faith, I think it was at the systems group where you asked the question, Karen, and the answer was something to do with desire is higher in hierarchy than our current state or our will. So Aphraar's desire was very high, so that would propel him to keep going, and his aspirations would probably take over rather than his current state, if that makes sense.
Can you send that link? Can you send that video itself, Pat? Karen sent me this long, I mean, you guys have been phenomenal. You guys just have made this whole list of videos that we can all watch and links and everything. And I'm feeling the way I'm feeling going, can I do this? I watched half of one on Fate. But if you can find that one, Pat.
Yeah,
I wanted to watch the one that Karen was on, and I was like, which one is Karen's? Should I email and ask her? I want the one you asked. So if you've already found it, you can send it to us.
Yeah, it's actually the one Karen included with Alicia's email. So I'll find it and forward it to you.
Please, yeah, because I want to watch that one. Thank you. Selena.
One of the questions this kind of brings to mind is why Aphraar did get to where he got to, like and all these things are pointing it out. It just makes me wonder how many people have kind of lower desires, like maybe to catch up to somebody they love, or somebody's kind of trying to pull them forward, and those aren't bad things.
Yeah.
But they're not really high aspirations. They're just wanting to be with certain people. And then of course that fades after a while, but it does tend, I think, pull people forward.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of that in Paget, they talk about that a lot.
Yeah.
So I wonder, just makes me think that there's not very many people that aren't kind of in the initial phases, at least, aren't kind of pulled forward by people that love them.
Yes.
Are trying to get them to progress. Their aspirations are not, they're good ones, but they're not, they're not what Aphraar are.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good question. And how does God then kind of create those little impetus along the way?
Whatever works, kind of thing. Yeah.
But then if that is what you desire, then I think, if your desire is to meet some loved ones, then you'll fulfill that desire, because that's a gift, that's something God would want for you. And then you're like, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
How it works.
Yeah, I know Wander in the Spirit Lands, he really talks about wanting to progress because his
So
The
amazing.
woman he loves on earth is so much more progressed than he is. She's so good. And that's his biggest motive. That's his motivation entirely.
Yeah.
That's his motivation. And he does pretty good with it.
Oh yeah, he does. And along the way, he learned some stuff, and
Oh yeah.
that would take care of,
Yeah.
however he gets you there.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on. Laura.
We're at question, that's number 3, is it?
Yeah, 3.
It may be, he, Rael, said with soothing impressiveness, that in your pilgrimage through the ages, you will find another spot that will make such an ineffaceable impression on you as this hallowed court of the voices. I was conscious of sweet and strengthening influences playing around me. In the calm depths of my being were echoes of music, if not actual voices, rhythmical and captivating sounds I hungered to hear more fully. From hidden depths within me, shadowy angelic forms arose, crowned with an aureole of promise, beckoned me to follow, and I was saturated with a sense of life to which I was unable to find any satisfactory analogy. What is happening to Aphraar? Why is he having these experiences? How does this experience prepare him for at-one-ment?
Judith.
Well, when I heard this passage, I was like, God, you could wander there forever and follow everybody around. You would, you could kind of get really kind of distracted, I guess.
Okay.
But I thought it was because it was like a longing to develop and to grasp an understanding of every detail, to master each and separate feature and analysis until he made the whole part of himself, taking what he was learning there and absorbing it into himself.
Yeah.
That's what I wrote down. But that's what he's just trying to pick up on everything in order to absorb it into himself, I guess.
Okay.
But I don't necessarily know why. But I guess it goes back to what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it links back to what we were talking about earlier a little bit. Yeah, thank you.
Self, yeah.
But it's like God is going to have a special plan for Judith when Judith gets there, because she's just going to wander a little bit. Like, we're going to have to get it through quick. Oh my God. But hey, who knows? Maybe that's what we all are going to be like when we get there. Hey. Thank you, Alicia.
Yeah, I think absolutely. It's like everything's merging together.
Yeah.
A part of this felt like it's almost as if his past, present, and future is coming up, and he's letting go of the last remnants of Earth and opening up to new possibilities. Like there's something opening up in him to new potentials,
New experiences.
Yeah.
Okay. They've never had before.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Virginia.
It sounds out of this world, right? And it is. It reminds me a little bit when Aphraar was visiting the area where the children were learning.
Yeah.
That garden.
Yeah.
It seems like everything is so enticing and appealing, and that it's drawing you in to want to kind of, I guess, grow that desire to learn more.
Yeah.
Want to see more.
Okay.
So it's drawing you to God and to connect with God.
Okay.
But it seems like the same type of environment where it's created to have you question and be drawn in and desire to want more, to learn more.
Okay.
And it works for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Laura.
Oh, I'm not even on mute. Do you think that like nature is that thing for us here?
Oh,
Like
Can you say
it
more?
draws you in, and it's like its beauty, and even just looking at the sky, the colors, the the shapes of the clouds and everything, it kind of draws you to this place of contemplation, I suppose. And observing the moon and the stars, and you look at it and it's just like mind-blowing, and it helps you focus outward, like question and contemplate and wonder about yourself in the scope of this tiny planet in a huge universe that's actually quite small, but we're like an ant, and it's just like when you kind of try and conceptualize it, it blows your mind a little bit. And I feel like there's nothing else that does that than nature.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So many questions about how things work, and insects and everything has this place and this purpose, and it's like, and it's all working in harmony, and it's like the perfection of God's creation. It's right there for us to see and to observe, and all we have to do is question it. And I feel like that's maybe our version of
Okay.
that.
What you're suggesting is that level that Aphraar is experiencing exists at every sphere. If we can open ourselves to let it awaken us in that way, which again is contemplation, right? You need to have a place that doesn't distract you all the time, or you need to create an environment that doesn't distract you all the time. If you could contemplate, even just looking at anything in nature will make you start asking questions, and it creates awe. And in that moment, maybe you could receive something in your soul.
Yeah, because it's like appreciation, isn't it? Like for something that's been created so perfectly.
But it also makes you ask, going, but who made it? Why? How?
Yeah.
It doesn't give you the answer. It actually does. And you're right, it does. It pulls you in. It pulls you out, and then it pulls you in the questioning. It's kind of cool. Like
and like looking at the human body too, hey?
Oh my God. I got the book, Laura. Laura's been doing something on Facebook, and I'm going to get that book. I got that. It's a book about somebody who is doing a biography about Henry Gray, who wrote the Gray's Anatomy, which is a beautiful depiction of human body. It's like art when you look at Henry Gray's The Gray's Anatomy textbook, and all the drawing, and it just made all the muscles, all the layers. It's like stunning. And I find the body really fascinating, and it's like Laura kept poking that book on the Facebook page, and I'm like, okay, fine, I'm gonna get it. So I'm at the first 2 chapters already, and can't wait to go home. That's what I'm doing. Have you read the book yet, Laura?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, it's about, yeah. Thank you. Okay, Judith.
I just want to make a comment about the curiosity thing in the earth, because like, look at how curious children are.
Yes.
And how as we get older, we become more and more desensitized.
Yeah.
We just become like, blah, we don't do anything. We sit at home. Yeah. We eat, that's the extent of our curiosity.
Yeah. And how can we bring that back? Like, I love what Laura just introduced, going, actually, what Aphraar is experiencing at the end level, we can have that experience here. How can we expose ourselves to that wonder and start having, at our first sphere level, the same kind of experience? Like, God isn't waiting for you to get to 6 to give you that experience, though it'll be like so much more immense, but you can have it now. Sometimes I look at a pine cone and I go, God, I have so many questions about just the pine cone. Like, what? Why? Like, yeah. So maybe this is a good conversation to go, well, what happened to mine? I can go find it again. There's so many things. Some people love the ocean. Some people, have you seen Seaspiracy yet? That will change you. It's so challenging. But it made me go, oh, ocean. I've been ignoring the ocean. Ocean, I want to go and hug the ocean. Like, oh my God, ocean. So it could be anything. You could be into flowers, mountains, cells, like human cells, tiny, tiny things. It could be anything. Rivers, rain, Could be anything. Like God has created so many inns that you could explore and just have that same wonder wake up in you. Cool. You guys are so smart. Alicia.
Oh, it was just a simple comment that Judith and Laura just instigated, was remembering that when the UN began, United Nations,
Okay.
the first meetings were held in nature,
Oh,
especially so that they would have nobler thoughts.
oh wow. Seriously? And if they were bare feet, then they were getting electrons too. They were earthing.
But it's a good message for us anyway, isn't it?
That's a good point. Thank you. Karen.
Following on, with what other people were saying, I thought these two paragraphs that you picked out, it seems like it's to awaken faculties in him, because in both of these it's being pointed out that he's not yet, it says, so for the second one it says, but though my untrained faculties were not able to appreciate all the subtleties of the majestic music. So he doesn't yet have that. And then Rael says to him, for the first paragraph, it was, it would be useless for me now to attempt to explain all that I mean by this. You are not yet in a position to understand what I tell you. So it's been pointed out he's not yet in the condition to understand what's happening, and that's why I feel like I'm having so much trouble trying to understand what's happening, because he can't even understand it. But it seems to me the point of these experiences are to awaken these new faculties that are essential to become at one with God.
Okay. So the external environment is triggering that which needs to awaken within him. That's a really good design. Dang, that's really good, actually. I like creating an environment in which stuff can happen. Okay. Wow. Got another passion. Thank you. Was there another point you were going to say, Karen? No, that was it? Okay. Thank you. Okay. Point 4. There's a poem. He's not using as many poems in this book yet, but we got one poem. Laura?
Get my right page. Okay, number 4. Will anyone then at the beautiful gate be waiting and watching for me? Shall I find anyone there watching and waiting for me? What had I done at any time, anywhere to secure any such recognition? Is this the poem?
No. I only wrote the 2 last lines of the poem.
Like, well, that doesn't sound like a poem.
No.
Okay. And then it goes on to say, I should not only find someone waiting for me at the gate, it was evident that they were not content to abide my coming till I arrived at the portal, but others than those I had known in the flesh were already on their way to give me welcome. What is Aphraar working through in these passages? What emotions are being triggered for Aphraar?
As he leaves some of his final earth influences behind, you can see some of the right issues being triggered to finish the process. So, Micah.
I noticed 2 issues. One was his worthiness or worthfulness, thinking, why is this happening to me?
Okay.
Or why would anybody come to see me?
Yeah.
But then he's also remembering that these people are going to meet him. So he has spoken of a lack of confidence, and yet these other people are sure he's going to be there. So I think it's helping his confidence and faith.
Okay. So he's kind of connecting to his low self-worth feelings, so that can start to get processed. But then it's also being answered that, yeah, God is giving him experiences confirming that he has worth, and he's bringing to feel confident. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Selena.
Oh, when I read this, I felt, will anyone be waiting for me? I felt he'd been had so little love in his life, and who's there? Like my mother is there, so maybe in his imagination would be his, but like there's so many people there that just love me that much that they're going to be waiting and watching for me at the gate. And I just think I love it. Love that. Yeah.
Some of that sadness about his earth life that he was.
Pardon?
Some of his sadness from his earth life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that there was no one known in the flesh that would be there for him, that, a loving grandparent, or, that's what I think lots of people's visions go to that, that these are the people that really don't understand the process. They're going to be there to get me through the gate. And he's kind of going, but I got these people that love me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think this is where the earth influences are leaving. They're not biologically related to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not the same race, not the same country, not the same timeline. So that because we have to release that earth influence of biology.
Yeah.
So I think, he's connecting to some sadness about his earth life at the same time as releasing the concept of family waiting for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Judith.
Yeah, I agree. And it was like his earth life, and that he's been pretty much alone all his life. He's doing this alone, and then he's kind of different from everybody that he knew, which kind of seems to be the theme that I feel with the other books. And then also I feel he's kind of scared. Like there might be some fear in this. Like someone has to always show him. He can't do it himself. So to me, it sounds like he's a little afraid, like he has some anxiety.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, because you expect somebody to show up and show you, and it'd be somebody that you know, somebody that you're familiar with, or somebody that should have a reason to care for you. Because we had this feeling only family members will care enough for you to show up for you, and why would any strangers care? And that's one of the biggest things that is being released in the spirit world. Because a lot of people have, I just spoke to a patient just now who found a psychic who could help him talk to his mom, dad, and stepmom, who've all passed away in the past 3 years. But his concept is family. And I go, but you have a guide. Why aren't you asking your guide? And he's like, I don't have a guide. Like, I have grandparents, I have family. Like, no, you have a guide. So it's just, there's something very strongly embedded in us around the concept of family, because they're the only one that would bother to care, bother to show up. So I guess it also brings up issues of word, probably, in some areas we have. Yeah, thank you, Judith. Pat?
When I read the first line, will anyone there then be waiting for me and watching for me? It really triggered me because, but I was referring to my family. Like, I don't think anyone would be there, friends or family. Now that I started with Divine Truth, I've lost basically everybody. So I felt kind of, no one's going to be there for me either. So I felt sad about that. But then reading on, it's like he has celestial friends that are helping him. And I'm thinking, to do with the family, when we get to the heavens, family is not our biological family. So that was kind of really reassuring.
Okay.
That I'll have new brothers and sisters and people that will actually help me and love me. I don't have to depend on my birth family.
Yeah.
So that was inspiring.
Okay. Well, I mean, he hardly spent any time alone in the spirit world. Like, he was constantly surrounded. He was constantly passed from one teacher to the next, to the next, to the next. Like, it was a busy 30 years for him. Alicia.
Yeah, I too, like Pat, was very moved by this. And even now, listening to all of you, I feel moved by it. And yeah, that first line of the poem got me too, because it was like, there's probably not going to be anybody there. And it sort of doesn't matter, but thank goodness that we're at least aware, even if we don't have great connection, that we have guides and that we do have these friends. And yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, this was very inspiring, as Pat said.
You said I won't have anyone waiting for me, and it doesn't matter. That's what you said. It doesn't matter.
That there won't, I mean, not waiting for me as in passing over to the spirit world, but as in as in this watchers and pale, you know, anybody there when I'm passing.
Yeah.
Actually, I feel like, maybe I'm wrong about myself, but it feels like it's sad, but it's not as important as it would have been.
For you?
Yeah.
I'm wondering. I'm kind of going. There's something there. There's some sadness accompanying.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Matter. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I feel. Yeah, that's why I've got teary eyes. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
Okay. You. Okay. Final question, Laura. Do you feel like? Do you want me to do it? How are you doing? I just want to honor how you're feeling there.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
I think I'm okay.
You're okay. Okay.
It's only one more. So, alrighty. Number 5. It is not so much a question of wait. It's not so much a question now of may as must, and that not because your free will is interfered with, but time and circumstance have brought you into the clear knowledge of God, whose everlasting and unchanging love has gained such irresistible hold upon you that you must yield to its influences and follow where it leads. Your spiritual eyes are opening to see the beauty of the true light. The darkness caused by the glamour of reason is being superseded by the glory of revelation, which will shine more and more unto the perfect day, where your feet shall neither stumble nor turn aside. How does this passage affect you? What feelings are coming up for you? Can you imagine yourself having this depth of passionate desire for God and wanting to be at one with God?
Where are you at, Judith?
No one wants to speak up. Well, when I read this, you know, like I personally go through this issue about feeling unworthy, and then I get like, well, you don't really desire God. You know, why are you doing this? But I realized that Aphraar really didn't desire God either. You know, he started without, it was his curiosity.
Right.
As he developed it, he was presenting, right. He kept on thinking about the logic about, oh, God created this, someone created this. Yes. And he put 2 + 2 together with the logic.
Yes.
And so I think that's like, don't just be so hard on myself, or us being hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
Because all that stuff that we're throwing on top of ourselves is just making it worse. And maybe it's a little bit easier than we think.
Yes.
I develop that simple curiosity, and just going from there, and not, you know, have such harsh expectations.
Absolutely.
So.
And by being curious, basically Aphraar fell in love with the Creator. Yeah,
and because he didn't really feel about God, didn't he say in the other book? And he really wasn't interested in God. Now he wants to know more and more. And because once he passed away and he started to see how things are really created, he started to fall in love with the beauty of the creation, going, this is so perfect. This is beyond what I expected. This is beyond what I think a loving parent would do. Who is this person? So he started to fall in love with, I love how curiosity pulled him in, but through it, he then started to fall in love with the fact. Yeah. And the Creator. Yeah, that's one step. Yeah, thank you. Virginia?
It still feels so far away.
Yeah.
Like such a far away state to be in. But I feel more hopeful.
Oh, okay.
Reading this.
Okay.
That there is a path, and that God never gives up on me or anyone of his children.
Okay.
But it feels like when you get to the place where Aphraar is, that because of his desire, his humility, that it feels like surrender.
Ah,
surrendering, having enough faith to surrender to God.
yeah.
And that when I think of that, even just saying it, I just, I get this little bit of feeling like it's going to be such freedom.
Wow.
Like,
Okay. Okay. And that's really attractive for you.
yes,
Okay.
very.
It's interesting to use the word surrender and freedom in the same sentence. Because in our rebellion, we think is the opposite.
Exactly, but it sounds like a really beautiful place to
Wow.
be on all levels. Yeah.
And you can really nurture that space.
I want that. I want that
yeah.
surrender. I want to be able to.
There you go.
I want that freedom. I want. Yeah.
Everyone has an in. Everyone has a path, an individual path. Yeah. Last we were talking about, will we all have a cathedral by the time we get to the bridge? Is that going to be the same for everybody? So yeah, that's a good one to think about as well. Pat.
When he says that it's not a question now of may as must, so it's guaranteed success when you get to that point. So when I read this, I thought that's really showing me how important it is to work on my facade and my addictions, because if I don't take any action to work towards progressing in love, I'm not going to go anywhere, and there's no guaranteed success until I do that. That's sort of how I read that. So I thought,
okay,
well, that gives me hope. If I actually work on this,
yes,
things can change, and I can grow in love.
Okay. I like you're exploring something which I can't understand at this point, but it's like you're kind of looking at addiction and facade and growing in love, and you're kind of seeing some kind of a connection there that you got to get rid of one in order for that other to happen. There's some kind of insight happening.
Back to my motivation, instead of being motivated to stay away from my pain and avoid it, motivated to love.
Yes.
So making different choices that way, maybe.
Okay. Okay. And love would look unique for you. It will look the way it does for whatever that means for Pat. Like it's your individual signature that can start to express itself. Your nature can express itself when you are exploring what does it mean to love.
Yeah, because if I wasn't in my addiction and I was desiring to love, I wouldn't be hurting other people. But if I was desiring to love, I would get rid of the addiction.
Yes. Okay.
Not so simple, but the concept.
I think it is. No, I think deep truths can be that simple. It should be simple.
Maybe simple, but not easy.
Yeah.
Simple concept.
Yeah. No, I think it's pretty simple. It's like, if I motivate myself to go towards love, boy, that'll solve a lot of problems. It'll motivate me to get rid of my addictions. It'll motivate me to get rid of my facade. It'll build my desire so strong that I'll get pulled towards that one man. Yeah, sure solve a lot of things. So it's just a question of, like, for me, out of my curiosity, is like, what does it look like when Pat's loving? What's Pat's version of love? So I'm excited to see what that will look like as you explore what that means for you. Because it's going to be individual, right? It should be something that's you get to decide to make it unique. When anytime, wherever we are, when we feel a certain love, we'll go, oh, that's Pat. I can feel her. That's her signature. So, which would be great.
Sounds exciting.
It does. Yeah, I'd be like, what does that even look like? How do I create an experiment to? Oh, sorry, I'm already creating a workshop out of this, so never mind. I'm gonna. That's how excited I got. Okay, thank you, Alicia.
I think I remember feeling when I first read this that I had some excitement in reading it.
Okay.
But there was another part of me realizing my desire is here and my pain, addictions, fear were way up here still. And I'm like, so I have to work on this first.
Okay. Or like Pat said, grow your desire.
Yeah. Yeah, at least to bring them nearer for sure.
Absolutely. Once your desire grows stronger than your fear, you will act. If I'm paraphrasing Jesus correctly.
Yeah.
Like you can lower your pain, or you can strengthen your desire. And when your desire is just a little higher than the pain, you're going to act, or the fear.
Yeah, but I definitely felt some excitement.
That's great.
A little bit, at least.
Okay. Thank you.
If you don't mind, I can see a storm coming.
Yeah.
And my internet will probably go. So if you don't mind, I'm going to disappear.
Sure. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Others? What were your feelings about that? Michael?
I had a kind of a lack of feeling because it seems so far away.
Okay.
It reminds me, as we're discussing it, of these things, I've hoped for or had faith in at one with God. I have no idea what that actually is,
Yeah.
and I have no way of getting there. It's like being on the shore of an ocean and there's an island and wanting to get to the island and having no way to get there.
Okay.
But maybe I'm starting to see that because God is reaching towards me at the same time. I mean, I don't know this, but what he's saying is if I can do some of the pieces, the prep work,
yes,
then God will take me the rest of the way. So
yes,
I can reach some of the pieces.
Yeah.
And that's my responsibility.
Okay. And well, once it becomes a desire, it doesn't even feel like a responsibility. You can't help yourself.
Yeah.
In some area. Yeah. And sometimes I will ask my guides going, what's it like to be at one with God? What's it like for you? Like I'm trying to familiarize myself or I'm trying to normalize it, basically. I think our guides are always trying to normalize it for us. They're always trying to go like, this is a normal, a doable, our guides are always very excited for us to get to that place. So sometimes I ask them, like, what's it feel like for you to be at one with God? What does it feel like to have no fear? What's that freedom about? What is this thing that once you at one with God, life is infinite. Like to me, I'm going, infinite, I'm gonna be around forever. That's freaking me out. Something about that idea actually create terror in me. But so you can actually ask your guides what it's like for them. Or maybe you have a guide or some spirits that are on their way to it one man could come and share their feelings of what it's like to be close to the gate. For the past two groups, this whole time that I've been preparing all these questions, I would not contemplate the answers because just getting through that was enough. It was like I was already exhausted. But the last two sessions, I've actually then sat down and go, what are the answers? I should get some answers for myself here and maybe be a little bit prepared. So, but I like to cheat because I can ask. I can ask my guides. I can ask Aphraar, though I feel a little self-conscious with Aphraar. But I'll actually ask, what's going on for him over there? I'll ask my guide, what do you think is going on for him over there? You tell me. You give me your feelings. And I just cried all afternoon. I was like, holy smokes, is that what's going on for him? From my level of being at first fear feeling some of these feelings, it was beautiful and overwhelming. But I was also chuckling going, I just asked somebody, what's going on? You tell me, give me your feelings. And we have that. We can ask our guides for their experiences. And I've actually asked Melissa going, what was it like for you when you were approaching 6th, 7th sphere? And she's kind of preparing me to be able to feel her feelings. What was it like for her? So that I can experience her memories, which at this point I feel like, oh, too many feelings, but I can feel her patiently helping me be able to accept and experience her feelings, what it was like. Because what he's saying in his chapter, what Rael is saying is that for the rest of your existence, this point will always be very meaningful for you. And I'm going, really? Is that what it's like for everybody? What's it like for my guides? Now I want to know. Now I want to ask them. So that's a good way to do it. And it also encourages a dialogue between you and your guides, because now you're asking about their lives and their experiences that they get to share with you about their lives. Okay, other comments? No, okay. So next week is Karen. And then we're basically set for the next 2 months. So this is really good. Okay, I will end the recording now.